That's an interesting question. Why add mobile to your IT solutions portfolio? Is anyone here already selling in mobile with their IT solutions? Hand up if you are. Can I ask you what you're selling in? Which products? BlackBerry. Anyone selling Apple products? I've got a tough sell. I'm up here to try and convince you to switch away from two very, very good products. BlackBerry and Apple, very good products, with a lot of pull out in the consumer world and in the business world as well. What I'm going to attempt to do is convince you that while those products are great for now, in the future there is another player, there is a third party that you need to be very interested in, and that is Windows Phone. Nokia with Windows Phone is what I'll also try to convince you of today. Firstly, we need to get a grasp of the opportunity in front of us. The projection for the total value of business in mobile for business is 1.2 billion this year. Interestingly, small to medium-sized businesses make up around 56% of those. And quite a few of those businesses are still running old-fashioned feature phones or mobile phones, the basic kind of phones you would have been given yourselves probably 5–10 years ago. There's a real opportunity to move those people into smartphones. Microsoft have, over the years, with your help, built up this huge capacity to implement productivity and collaboration services. This is a worldwide figure, but 1 billion Office licenses out there, 150 million Exchange servers out there. You yourselves have made up a big chunk of those sales in the UK. And that's something we need to leverage going forward. What Nokia has decided to do with their business strategy is to partner with Microsoft. Nokia will do the hardware, Microsoft do the software. We'll add a few little sexy software bits ourselves, which I'll show you in a sec. The third strand, or to me the most important pillar of this partnership, is going to be you. And that is people with intelligence, expertise, who can go out and convince the punter to take on board this new technology. So what we want to do today is try and explain a little bit about Windows Phone. We'll be upstairs as well. There's a small area where Andy, Mike, and another Andy, they're just in the back there waving, will be stationed. They'll have all of the devices I'll show you today. You can look at them, play with them, get a feel for them yourselves, and we'll attempt to answer any tricky questions you throw our way as well. So feel free to come up. It's just one floor up on the right-hand side there at the end of this if there's something you need to ask. So some trends which I'll refer to during the course of this presentation, which you're probably familiar with. James mentioned one of them earlier, the consumerization of mobile devices. Productivity and collaboration is another big trend. Moving away from just email. Email is probably the most productive tool you can have on a mobile, realistically, but there is a move towards other methods of productivity and collaboration. The Windows platform really lets you make the most of that opportunity. And then mobilizing business-critical applications within your own organization. So you may have a database somewhere that you can then port to the cloud. You want to make sure that someone in the field, someone out and about, can access that information, because it will make a big difference to the way they can conduct themselves in their business lives and get the most out of their business day. It's a third-party application scenario. And consumerization, that's really where Nokia fits in. So I'll talk more about that later. I noted before that there are some of you using Windows Phone, some of you are not. Would it be beneficial to quickly flash up on screen working Windows Phone, show you how I'm kind of using it in a business situation? Would that be something you want to see very quickly? Please work. Right, so this is a Nokia with Windows Phone. It is the 800, and it turns on. One swipe up releases the screen lock. So this is similar to what you saw before James doing with Windows 8. I've set this up in a personal way. I mix business with pleasure all the time on my phone as well. I'm going to show you more of the business features. And the first thing I want to do is tell you about how the UI works. So the first screen you have are your live tiles. Now this is a bit boring, just switch off. Some people probably haven't seen this. These live tiles bubble up information from the background, from the cloud, and tell you what is going on. For example, my Hotmail account here is letting me know there are 2 unopened mails in that Hotmail account. So it's more than just an application link, it's a live tile giving you live information. Marketplace is where you buy your applications, and it's telling me here that there is one application which has an update I can perform, so I can go into Marketplace and do that. There is a bigger list of all the applications by swiping once or pressing the little arrow here. This shows everything you have on your phone. If there is something you're using all the time, let's try CNN, for example, I can hold down that button and pin it to the start. Then it becomes a live tile. And if that has been programmed by the developer, information will bubble through in that live tile as well. CNN, for example, will send me through any relevant news information that I've requested that it does. I can move that tile around as well. I'm getting strange feedback here. I can just drop it where I want to drop it. So very easy to use, very easy to navigate. And when you set up your device, it's very intuitive. Email. One of the best features I've found with the email, or Outlook email in particular. I mean, you're probably the same as me. When you're out, you'll end up with 100, 200 emails in your inbox. It's great to be able to clear some of the guff that's in that inbox while you're on the road. And you can do that in a traditional way by just getting individual mails and deleting them. There's a feature here called which groups your emails, a conversation view. Let's have a look at something from Adi Anibaba. Here I've got several emails in a conversation stream coming from different times, and they're all placed in this one list. Now, this was not a particularly fruitful conversation. All it's done really is put 16 messages in my inbox, which I don't want. One tap on the side there highlights everything in that conversation, and I can delete straight away. So I've just cleared 18 emails in the space of a second. I'm using that all the time. I think it's a wonderful productivity tool. Your emails can be grouped as well. So if I go into my Hotmail, I've got more than one inbox, so I can choose to group whatever combination of inboxes I require. For me, I tend to put my work ones together, so I've got an Outlook on Office 365 and my work Outlook back at the office, so I would group those together. For Hotmail, I'm going to group Google Mail. I'm going to rename that Got Mail. So that now is a combined inbox combining Hotmail and Gmail. It's really easy to set up. And you'll notice that the way that this is represented on screen is the same as in Outlook. So everything you can do on Outlook, that conversation view, deleting lots of emails, it's all very, very similar using that Metro UI. So email linked, very easy to use. That's productivity as we know it and understand it. We think it's a cut above what you experience on, say, a BlackBerry. The next big thing really is Office. So having Office Suite built into the phone, pre-licensed, you can take a PowerPoint off an email, display it on your phone. Things aren't crazy and screwed around like you might get on a third-party application that tries to re-represent PowerPoint. It's all inline. Images work and transitions work. I'll show you that now. This is where the productivity piece gets more interesting. If I go to this Office tile here, I have my documents that I've recently used. One more swipe shows me sources. So SkyDrive, everyone gets around 25 gig of SkyDrive whenever they buy one of these phones. If you've hooked up a SharePoint, then the SharePoint access is through here as well. So I have my SharePoint here, my team site, and I've stored some information on the phone too. I'll bring up an example of a PowerPoint. This PowerPoint comes up, it looks exactly like it does on my PC because Microsoft have created this program, they've made it that much better. One tap and animations actually work on this as well. So any animation you have in your PowerPoint presentation will display as you see it on the screen. The implementation of Excel is pretty amazing as well. If you've tried Excel before on a small screen, you know it's almost impossible to navigate around. It's very difficult. With this though, pinch and pull to zoom in, zoom out, and you can do things like insert charts, and you can freeze panes as well. So let me find that. Format. You can filter, anything you can do really on your desktop, and also insert formulas. So there's other Windows phones out there, as you know. Why would you choose to sell in a Nokia Windows phone as opposed to something from Samsung or HTC? Nokia are also working on some exclusive content, the first of which is Nokia Drive. This is something which is continually in evolution. It's essentially sat-nav on your phone. You may be familiar with it. 95 countries are represented. The key thing here is you can download the maps in advance. So instead of having to pull off the operator server, you can have the maps preloaded and just drive away without using any data at all. Very cost effective. There was an announcement at Mobile World Congress which described the third version of this map application. That's coming out nearer to the end of the year. But what it's doing is it will become an essential tool for commuting. The program will figure out when you're on the move. If you've done a certain trip more than a certain number of times, it will assume that that is your commute. And it'll work out that, usually you leave at, say, 7 o'clock in the morning and you travel down such and such a road to get to your work. It'll work that out in the background because you're doing that every day. Once it's determined that, it will, half an hour before you make that commute, check all of the relevant traffic control systems. If there is a blockage on the road, it will feed through to your live tile the block, the traffic alert, and then reroute you around for your commute when you start that application. It's that kind of taking it to the next level experience that Nokia is trying to get with all our products. It's important too, I suppose, when you have a phone that, because you live with these things every day, there needs to be some compelling consumer stuff going on too. You don't just work. There are times when you have a bit of off time, maybe you're stuck in traffic, maybe you're on the underground, and in this particular case, Nokia Mixed Radio is quite remarkable. You're able to download 14 hours of music for free, different genres, and you can then play that back when you're underground, when you're in your car, wherever. You don't need a signal to be able to stream that music. It's essentially loaded on your phone for a month. At the end of that month, it refreshes. New music. It's just like listening to the best radio station ever without annoying DJs and no advertisements. We're doing quite a few deals with bigger organizations like ESPN. The ESPN Sports Hub is an example of how we're moving away from just having individual discrete or siloed applications and having a hub where you have everything that's about this particular theme or subject. For example, here we have the ESPN Sports Hub. In the top frame you see the different sports, in this case everything, down to the next level. They've chosen baseball. I choose football myself, but you can see everything to do with baseball there. One swipe, these are individual screens, takes you through from text content to video content to applications, other applications associated with ESPN. Fantasy football, for example. You'll eventually be able to pin your favorite team to your home page, or to your front page there, and information as it happens will bubble up. So scores, players leaving or coming in, managers being fired or quitting, all that stuff will just be instantaneously available to you. Again, more of a consumer feature, but I think we all use our phones for more than just business. Business applications, though, are really important. So as James described, the tools that are used to create applications are common across most of the Microsoft estate. And there are literally millions of people developing on there. I've had a look at it myself. Visual Studio is very easy to use. And a lot of companies now are creating applications to complement their Windows portfolios. So I've heard that Good has recently put something out in the last few days and there's an SAP client as well. It's been announced at Mobile World Congress. So it's all happening. We still don't have 500,000 apps they do on Android, but we like to think that the apps we are creating are just that much better, using the Metro interface, using the ability to swipe between things rather than having to go in and out and silo yourself. So things are interesting. Now to the phones. Again, the phones will all be upstairs, so please go and have a tinker. Until you really hold and touch and feel these devices and play around with that gorgeous Metro UI, you don't really get them, I think. We've got a range. They're called the Nokia Lumia range. And the beauty of having a range is you can have something aspirational at the top of that range, and you can have something more functional down the bottom. So the aspirational phone is something you might sell into the hard-nosed boss who wants to go out and impress other hard-nosed bosses with their hardware. I think the perfect device for that would be the Lumia 900. And I do have one of those. I'll be showing it upstairs later on. That was recently announced that it will be coming to the UK. Going down the road, range, this is all price point related. We've just announced the 610. This will be the most affordable Windows phone ever, and it will be coming out hopefully before the end of the half. That is more for your stuck in the corner worker, continually berated and belittled by his boss. Important though that the functionality, the productivity you can experience on the 610 is the same as on the 900. So all these great applications I've shown you will work on the 610 as well. I'm talking Office, email, all that stuff they can do. They're just as productive as their boss. Don't look quite as cool. So this brings me to the consumerization piece, and it's obvious really, but it's interesting because in the past, as an IT department, I know you deal a lot with IT departments, they had absolute unwavering control over what devices were and what the devices did and how they were used even. In the past, it was mostly Nokias. An IT department would say, welcome to the company, here's your phone. It seems to be changing. Now they're saying, welcome to the company, here's a list of phones that you can choose from. And we'll do our best to support these different phones. And invariably, the people who come into the business are choosing the more consumer-friendly phones, things like iPhones. That seems to be their preference. So Nokia have decided that we need to get onto this and make sure that we create phones that not only do the business basics and go beyond that, and we're relying on Microsoft to keep us honest there, but also create things that are appealing to consumers, something that's very consumer-based. Because a consumer, you start with a company, you want to fit in, but ultimately you are an individual and you want to express yourself. And I think this is where this is all being driven from. You want to be different than everyone else and show that you have taste and your own individual identity. In this case, you're not just another zebra at the watering hole. We're doing that through award-winning design. So the 900, which I'll have upstairs, won the best phone in show in the CES, and it's using a technology, polycarbonate construction, drilled out holes, and the entire phone is placed into this cavity. When you look at it, it's almost seamless. So you hold the phone up and it feels smooth. The glass on top is also curved on the 800, so it feels like one coherent, solid piece, a quality piece of engineering, something a consumer, when they feel it, they really do comment. And you see people in shops picking them up saying, wow, that feels really nice. We have another technology called Clear Black, which sounds gimmicky. What it is a method of making everything on your screen more vivid. So we've created a special polarizing filter, which means that when you're outside, there's less reflection coming off your screen. And we've made sure that black is truly black on the screen, which provides contrast, which in turn makes everything stand out and look crisper and clearer. So when you're upstairs, compare that to your own device, say, and just see if you can tell the difference between the Nokia screen technology and whatever you have at the moment. That's a great selling point, though, when you're trying to use these things on the go, like your email. If you can't see it, you might as well not even have a phone. So the phones that we currently have in range, I'll do these in order of release. So the 800, no, you've probably seen these before. Has anyone not seen this phone? Put your hand up if you haven't seen it. Okay, I'll give you a brief talk about it. So it's using that polycarbonate design. Gorilla Glass on the screen, so super tough, very scratch resistant. I keep my phone in the same pocket as my keys, purely by accident most of the time. But I've been doing that for the last 6 months, not a scratch on it, which is pretty amazing. The specs of this device have been created for Windows Phone. So we got prescribed what we needed to build in order to make Windows Phone run smoothly and quickly, and that's what we have here. So 1.4 gigahertz processor, 512 meg of RAM. That's kind of meaningless until you actually pick it up and start using the phone. Because if you go onto the internet, say, I will almost guarantee you that the internet experience will be quicker than anything you've seen ever before. Internet Explorer 9 is almost the full version of Internet Explorer on the phone. The next device that we released was the 710, still is. So that is coming down the pricing order a little. Still has exactly the same functionality as the 800. It's just a subtle tweak to the design. We've really gone for color. So we're making sure that these color ranges are visible in store. And an interesting thing about color, someone will go into a shop because they've been drawn in, they've seen a blue phone or a pink phone, and they'll probably buy a black phone. Now in the business world, they're always going to buy a black phone, I'm sure. But it's just interesting how color can create desire and consumer pull. And we're experimenting a lot with that. The colors we use, cyan, magenta, yellow, and black. CMYK, traditional print media, so they'll never ever go out of fashion. So goes the theory. The 900, as I told you earlier, the new phone that is going to come to the UK, front-facing camera on this, big screen, 4.3-inch screen, again with that incredible clear black technology, and I'll show you that upstairs. It's quite vivid, AMOLED screen. I think the killer thing with this device will be the speed. So it will be capable of 42 megabits per second on the download, assuming, of course, you're with a carrier who has that capability. So 3, for example, have dual carrier capabilities. On an ordinary network, around 21 megabits per second, still super fast. And that has a couple of benefits. When you're grabbing information from, say, a back-end server, pulling it to the phone, images in particular, really quick. When you're streaming content, let's say you have a meeting, some kind of business meeting, and you're streaming out that content to someone in the field, they can get that content much quicker and it'll be more clear. The bit rate reflects better pixels or more pixels on the screen, makes it clearer, easier to see. The 610 has caused quite a lot of excitement at Mobile World Congress, not because it is super cool or funky and has an amazing processor, quad-core processor or anything like that. It's because it is fully functional and yet really affordable. The most affordable Windows Phone that you can get right now. This is going to be one of the key phones for us to sell into business, particularly if you're mobilizing ordinary workers. That again comes in a range of delicious colors. I'm sure black will be the one everyone goes for though. The Skype announcement was made a few days ago, and there is a beta of Skype in a secret place on Marketplace. I've been playing with it myself. I know it's not a true business application, but it is something which businesses use. And a lot of the times I'll get business cards, there'll be a Skype address on it. So good to know that that is coming to Windows Phone at last. Microsoft, having bought that product, you can foresee that they will be doing some very interesting things in that space. The true business product there is Link. So have you heard of Link? It's a method of IM right now. The Windows Phone client will very soon be able to do video calling. Actually, right now you can push through presentations, so PowerPoint presentations, live meetings. You can do that right now on Link. I wonder if, and maybe we can ask James later, Skype and Link may somehow coexist in the future. It might be an interesting proposition. The address book on Skype, the functionality of Link, I don't know. I'm making stuff up now. Sorry, Jim. Another way that we're creating this consumer pull is through creating accessories. If you're using your phone as a sat-nav, then obviously you need something to attach it to your car. I'm sure there's opportunities with accessories when you go out. You're probably more interested in the big implementations, big infrastructure stuff. But there's a lot of margin, and I know margin pricks everyone's ears up. So I think we do have a few accessories upstairs as well, Andy, maybe. but this is what they look like. We've really tried to tie in the design with the phones, so everything is coherent and makes sense. Oh, this, by the way, down here is this speaker over here. An amazing speaker, puts out so much sound you wouldn't believe, actually uses the walls and the ceiling to bounce sound around you with virtual 3D sound. It's got one more thing to talk about, so that's the smartphone section. There's a lot of businesses out there, particularly cost-constrained businesses, who have had basic mobile phones and they want to continue just with a basic mobile phone experience. So they're not really ready for the full push into productivity, collaboration through SharePoint. We announced at Mobile World Congress the Nokia 302. So this is a basic mobile phone which does some extraordinary things. It's so extraordinary we're actually calling it Smartphone Lite. And GfK, the guys that come up with all of the figures that everyone looks at every week, sales figures, have created a new category called Smartphone Lite, which the 302 fits into. And the big news here is that it will support Microsoft Exchange. It's the first Series 40 or mobile phone from Nokia that will do so. And in fact, that will be rolled out across all of the Azure range. This is a list of what can be done. Quite prescriptive and small writing, you don't need to read that. All I'm suggesting is it's a good implementation of Exchange. You'll be able to do most of the things you can do on a smartphone. The 302 follows from another product we had called the C300, probably the best-selling phone that we've had since I've been at Nokia. Well over 1 million sold just in the UK. The 302 adds things like 3G, HSPA, so high-speed upload and download, a 3.2 megapixel camera. It's got like a chrome outside to it, which is suggestive of things like the E6. So it's a high-end looking phone for a sub-£100 price. I would keep my eye on that one. So that's what we have for you today. Hopefully this awakens some kind of imaginations of the future where you can see people moving towards productivity, collaboration on their smartphone, not just email, and the use of Nokia Lumia smartphones to achieve that. And also keep an eye on this Nokia 302. I'm sure there's an opportunity to sell a lot of those things in, should you get into this, because there is still a need for basic mobilization using Microsoft Exchange. So thanks very much for your time. Again, we're going to be upstairs. Please come and have a look and play with the phones. Thanks for your time.